Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the F1 Card Strategy Show. This is episode 3, brought to you by NoOffSeason.com. I am Paul Hickey, and I'm here with Greg Lanctot. And we are brought to you by NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Content Network, part of the Sports Card Strategy Show feed here. And we're talking F1 today. Greg, how's it going, my man? Great to have you on.
It's pretty good, man. I can't wait for the season to hit a stride of, a race every weekend. Now it's been 2 weeks, and I feel like, these little Pablo Escobar memes every weekend that are like when he's sitting in his backyard and he's like just watching nowhere. That's
Yes.
exactly how I feel every weekend. There's not a race. There's a lot of politics going on. That when there's no races, so I just want to see it on the track. And Miami was a pretty cool weekend, kind of cringe also, and the race was a bit boring, but anyway, it was nice to see F1 hitting new markets, and I just can't wait to see what's up in Barcelona. And the good news also is Barcelona has an F2 race as well. So we're going to be following that very, very closely.
I did notice that. I was excited about that. And I'm actually going to be in Asturias this weekend for my son's baseball tournament, which actually is north of Barcelona. So I'm flying through Barcelona tomorrow. And if my son didn't have this tournament on the same actual days as the race, I'd probably be looking to go up to Barcelona because I live just a few hours south of there in Valencia. So anyway, I will be watching the race this weekend. Was not able to watch it in Miami just because of the time difference, but I'll be watching the race this weekend. And yeah, I'm excited about the F2 one as well because of our guy Theo Pourchaire.
Yeah.
You and I both invested in him, and he's somebody I want to talk about on this episode. So
Let's get it going.
yeah, actually, like for those of for those sports card investors that are tuning into the F1 Card Strategy Show that are not as in tune with F1, my impression going into this year, because I'm kind of a newbie at F1 this year, my impression was that there was a race every weekend and that there was also an F2 race every time there was an F1 race. Is it like travel, like when they go from, like, for example, when they go to Australia, there was like a weekend off. I know that they just went to the United States for Miami, like you said, and now they're going back over to Europe. So do they take a weekend off because of travel, and like why wasn't there an F2 race in Miami?
Yeah,
Do you happen to know?
It's all about budget. That's all it is.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same thing as having the I'm in Canada, and the big market here is indeed hockey. And the National Hockey League is traveling by plane, is traveling everywhere in North America, and the AHL, the American Hockey League, they're traveling by bus, and they're traveling only, let's say I'm in Montreal, so just the northeast of the continent. So I would compare it to the same. I imagine it's the same for basketball sub leagues or others. So it's just, you see, I think it's only in Europe, or no, they're going to Azerbaijan in the beginning of June, but they're not going after going to Monaco and Baku. They're not going to Montreal, which is a shame. I would have loved to see Theo race, but they're going to be in Silverstone, Spielberg, Budapest, Belgium. So you see, they're not really going out of continental. They went to Jeddah, but yeah, they're not going to fly out to Australia. They're not going to fly out to. I was actually having the same tab to Australia, to any of the American races, including Canada. And I don't think they're going to go to either Brazil or anywhere else. So
Yeah. Well, yeah, we're talking F2 because, F2 prospecting has been huge. We're 5 races in to the F1 season. and we've had two winners. Max has won 3 races, and Charles has won 2. Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. And
Yeah.
it's like I think the driver standings are neck and neck, right? So that could go either way as of now. And then the other storyline I think really is Mercedes, that you've got George Russell. He's still finished in the top 5 in all 5 races, correct?
Yeah, it's the only driver on the grid that finished the top 5 in all of 4 races. 5. No, yeah, 5. You're right. So he finished top 5 in all of these. Very, very consistent. Mr. Saturday has become Mr. Sunday now. So yeah, I mean, George is very impressive in that Mercedes car. So let's see. The car looked better in Miami. So they did 5 and 6. Lewis was a bit pissed about all of this situation. I don't know if you caught that on radio, but um, he finished 6th, and Bono, his engineer, just said, "Hey, mate, great race. That's P6. It's a shame that our strategy didn't get. We basically ran out of luck." And Lewis just didn't answer anything. He just radio
Yeah.
silence, which speaks volumes actually. So yeah, he was a bit pissed about it, rightfully so. I mean, when you're getting beat by your teammate all the time, which is a young driver, super talented driver, but still Lewis is a 7-time world champion, arguably an 8-time world champion. But we can't wait to see how the car is going to get better. They should bring a better package in Barcelona. Also, Aston Martin's going to bring a better package on Lance Stroll's car, and Ferrari should have also finally their 100% engine, which was scary at the beginning of the season, but now Red Bull has catched up so much that they're now ahead of them. So we'll see what holds at this race.
Yeah, I heard from some people who were in Miami at the race that they were saying that Ferrari and Red Bull just seemed like the cars were in a different stratosphere than everybody else's car. And so there are a lot
Yep.
of respect for Hamilton and Russell driving the Mercedes car. And so it's scary to think that Ferrari's car could get even better. Greg, do you think it's early enough in the season? Give us some perspective on this, because I think for F1 card investors, we kind of want to know, um, this being my first real F1 season following the races, because
Yep.
I am invested in the cards this year, which is super fun. Um, Give us some perspective around like what can change, because Lewis kind of came out a few weeks ago and said um, that he felt like he was out of the running for the drivers' championship. He's in 6th. Lando's in 7th, and then you've got obviously at the top is still Leclerc, and then Verstappen. Sergio Perez, Verstappen's teammate at Red Bull, is 3rd. Russell's 4th, and Carlos Sainz, Ferrari, who is Leclerc's teammate, is 5 before you get to Lewis. So there's a big point differential between 1 and 6, but Lewis is still 6th. I mean, is there any way actually these driver standings could shake up quite a bit, or are we looking at Leclerc and Verstappen to the end?
I'll bring you back in 2012 when Sebastian Vettel was on the Red Bull. The Red Bull had no pace at the beginning of the season. It was nowhere to be found, and by mid-season, Vettel was unbeatable, just won 4 races in a row. And as you probably know by now, he went on to win the world championship. Is it too late now for Lewis to actually win the championship? I think so. But I think him and George can still make a very good run for Mercedes until the end of the season. If you look at all experts, all blogs, everyone covering F1, no one has a doubt that Mercedes will figure it out soon enough, and that Lewis and George will be in the mix until the end of the season. Now, as far as card goes, I think it's a good news for George and Lewis, because Lewis has been in a dip. If I look here on some different cards, Lewis Lewis's value on the last year has been down 30%. It's actually been up in the past month, but the year date to date has been down 30%, depending on cards and all that stuff. But and George, we haven't seen him going up that much, you know. So even though he's been super consistent, George's value, I think people are waiting. There's two things in there. George has a big value in the market because the F1 collectors, the early adopters of F1 have been, they know about his talent. They know he's going to be a world champion one day. So he has a huge value. But the new collectors, if you listen to different episodes of sports card podcast or whatever, people are like, who's winning? Who's first in the standings? And they want to know. And that's why Charles' value has exploded in the past months. And now Max value is on the rise. But for some reason, Max is very undervalued to where he would be supposed to be, in my opinion. But one thing I've learned in the past year in the hobby is that some people are undervalued and there's nothing you can do about it. It's not because they're undervalued that someday people are going to wake up and say, oh yeah, this guy. And they're going to start buying him and make his value go up to the roof. Even though it's undeniable that if he goes on and wins a second world championship in a row, I mean, the cards that you have now, I mean, what will be their value in November?
Yeah, and I think you just nailed where I wanted to go real quick, because at nooffseason.com we try to look at potential outcomes, right? Like, what's the outcome going to be if you were to buy Max? And so we just moved Max up to the number one F1 driver in our sports card investment report. So our rankings and our investment report, Max is now number one in terms of F1, and he's number 7 overall out of anyone that you can buy sports card wise, which we all know there's a million different possibilities. We have Max Verstappen number 7. And the reason why we have it is basically what you just articulated, which is we see the most probable likely outcome being that he wins his second world title in a row, the Drivers' Championship. And right now, we feel the same way you do. You know, you're part of the team too, so you're part of the we. So we all feel the same way.
I'm glad I know that.
is undervalued. You know, I think undervalued is a term that we don't throw around lightly. You know, I think Max, his card prices compared to active GOATs of other sports or active players who are at the top of their game in other sports, relatively speaking, as popular as F1 is, his cards, I believe, are still pretty inexpensive, believe it or not, if you want to call $5,000 inexpensive or $2,000 or $11,000 inexpensive. I do believe that it is, especially considering that his markers coming up to win another world title are pretty solid. Obviously, Leclerc could beat him, but even if Leclerc does beat him, Max is still probably going to be considered the best driver in F1 for quite some time, for probably years to come. So investing in a Max Verstappen card of any kind, or especially like a big card, which I know we want to get to, is definitely like tops on my list for sports card investors. And then, you know, Russell stayed in our top 10 and Leclerc also moved up. So between Max, Russell, Leclerc, and Hamilton, who are all in our top 15 at nooffseason.com, and actually just a quick shameless plug, you can go to nooffseason.com and save 20% on the premium version of the sports card investment report, where you can get all the information that I'm talking about. If you can save 20% using the promo code nooffseason, all lowercase. And if you've subscribed in the past and canceled your subscription, come back. I have sent you an email and I want you to check your email, and I want you to come back for free for a month because we have improved our offering quite a bit. But anyway, um, I think that Max, George, Charles, and Lewis are at arguably, let's just put them in their own tier for a second, right? Agree or disagree that they're in their own tier, first of all, and then who would be like in the next tier of drivers that you would recommend would potentially be investments?
Lando for sure. I would say
Okay.
Pierre Gasly also. Uh, the second tier is actually very thin, and it's not necessarily based on performance, but rather based on speculation. So right now, if you look at the value, Lando Norris is in there. As far as F1 drivers, Lando Norris, Pierre Gasly, Mick Schumacher. These are the three F1 drivers I would put in that tier, and probably Yuki Tsunoda, only because I don't know how or why the hobby loves this kid so much. Probably because he's very, in the Netflix series, people tend to love the guy, and I mean, he's a very likable character. And I would put in the F2 drivers in that tier also Theo Pourchaire and Oscar Piastri. And these guys are just based on, it's purely based on either a long-term or speculation, because Piastri doesn't even have a seat right now. He's a test driver for Alpine. Anyway, it's a French word, Alpine. And he's probably going to get a seat next year or the following year, but we don't even know where. And it's probably not going to be in a top, a top car. So right now there's only this speculation. People want to know, just like in baseball, just like in basketball as well, who's going to be the next top dog, and Theo is leading the F2 World Championship. He's on the rise. But I mean, I think his value, when we know what his future will be, there's going to be a boom, and then there's going to be a dip in his market. As much as I like the kid and I'm buying him, I just actually got my autograph card yesterday, which is beautiful. It's amazing. So yeah, that would be the second tier of drivers I would invest in. Pierre Gasly is an amazing driver. His season right now is very, very average, but again, he said it. I'm not gonna continue my career in a AlphaTauri car. And I deserve a top car, and he's right. So, what's it gonna be? What's the famous speculation that will start in a few weeks about who's going where next season? Is Vettel going to retire? Is Aston Martin going to be sold? Is Lance Stroll going to also be kicked out of F1 if his father sells Aston Martin? There's so much speculation. I know it's your first big season, big full season here in F1. Been there for a few years, and it's always like that. Who's going to land? Let's say Ferrari. They just signed Carlos Sainz for another 2 years, so we know that people thought that Mick Schumacher was going to jump probably as early as next year or the following one in the Ferrari car. Not going to happen. And with his performance now, I think the call is good to actually wait a minimum of 2 years before we get him in this car. What's going to happen with Lewis after not this season, but after next season? Alonso, Ricardo, there's so many, man.
Yeah, for sure. Well, you just nailed one of the main things I wanted to ask you, which was like, what does the trajectory look like for a guy like Pourchaire or Piastri or Gasly? Because Gasly's obviously a different conversation. Let's actually hold him for a second. But using Pourchaire as an example, you articulated it well, and I just want to reiterate it for the audience. Like basically, so Pourchaire is leading F2. and that season ends in November, correct, Greg? Or right around the same time F1 ends, maybe a little earlier. And so
I think so.
my
Yep.
guess is that there's going to be like maybe two opportunities to sell Pourchaire before the drop off that you talked about. One is going to be like, does he win the F2 championship? If he does, spike, sell. If he, or the other one would be like, does he earn a seat? Like when he earns a seat somewhere in F1, there is probably going to be like news and then a spike and then sell at that point. But if you don't sell at those 2 points, it seems to me like you could risk maybe having to hold or sell low for another couple of years before he actually gets into a good car or gets on a podium or wins a race or something. Like you could be waiting for years and years. I'm new to this too, so am I kind of on the right track with like the timing of this thing?
You're on the right track. And once again, it's a very immature market. Thought that, and I was probably wrong, but before the season started, never would have thought that it was so performance based and that the value of Piastri and Pourchaire would be so high right now, even higher than, I mean, probably Alonso, 8-time race winner Daniel Ricciardo, that a lot of people actually like, in not in the card world, but in the real life. Then Kimi Raikkonen, then Vettel, who's a four-time world champion. So that's where we're at right now. So it's a very immature market, and people are going to be very smart to actually predict what's exactly going to happen. But what we're saying the same thing. It makes sense. When you look at the value of drivers that are actually in not Red Bull, not Ferrari, not Mercedes, it's probably under what Theo's value is right now. So
Yeah.
when you do the math, Theo Pourchaire is French. Where's the dream seat that he could land, or that this actual team would love to have him? Alpine. It's a French. It's a French team, French owned, French also management that's there. So yeah, if he lands there, his value is going to be interesting. But is it going to be higher than what is the actual value of Esteban Ocon and Fernando
Yeah.
Alonso?
And Fernando Alonso's potentially always potentially at the end, always potentially in his last year. So maybe that's a possibility for Theo. But I mean,
Well,
I
he's
think
having a
my
damn
play with
season.
Theo, yeah,
Fernando Alonso is pretty impressive right now.
yeah. So I mean, there's no guarantees with anyone getting seats anywhere other than like the top guys, and so Theo to me feels like we're very high on him. We talked about him on the last episode quite a bit, but he feels like a sell towards the end of this season to me. And I think you even said that was your play when we were talking about him last
Yep,
week.
that's
It's like,
exactly
you're
what
like,
I'm
I'm
gonna
gonna
do.
buy him and then sell him when he wins the F2 title, hopefully. So Oscar, I think, is in the same category as Theo, but he's just in a different timeline, part of his timeline, because he's not racing. He's the backup for Alpine, and I believe that he can actually race for McLaren in certain scenarios where like health concerns keep one of their two drivers out. He could be called into a McLaren seat or something like that. So that's another thing to look out for. I think there was like rumors of him maybe racing in Australia this year when Ricciardo had COVID, but then Ricciardo I think was cleared. But anyway,
But
I don't
yet
know.
again,
I'm new to this too, so.
but look who was the test driver for Williams this past week, Greg De Vries. So they didn't even take either Piastri or Pourchaire to have one of their cars. Is it going to be them? There's also I can't remember his name, but a guy that made a crazy drive last weekend under the rain, showed amazing control. So the path to F1 is not necessarily F2, F1. Are they going to go grab someone in the Formula E championship? like Greg DeVries. And if that's the case, it's going to be terrible for the hobby because he has no cards. He's not
Yeah,
in the
that's true.
2020
That
set and
was
2021. So watch out when the next cards come out and his first ever card. So probably he's going to have a lot of hype around it. So big value, and then just like every release, going to crash a little and then go back up. So we'll see.
so back to drivers who have cards that you mentioned a minute ago, and then this will segue us into a couple more topics that I know you wanted to get to today. Pierre Gasly has some cards. He has all the cards that you would think he would have related to the most popular sets. Topps Chrome 2020, Topps Chrome 2021, and the Sapphire edition of the Topps Chrome for each of those 2 years. But then he also has Topps F1 Dynasty for 2020 and 2021. And so I just, let's look at Dynasty for a second, because to me, so Max Verstappen's 2020 Topps Dynasty F1 patch auto out of 10 sold twice in January, both for over $15,000. There may be a more recent sale than that, but this is a big money card. I think they're actually, most of these there's only 10 of them. I think most of these are actually listed for like, people want 80,000 for this. Some people want 20, 25, depending on what the patch is, all these different things. But we'll break down Dynasty, what it is here in a minute. But let's talk about like looking at Gasly, for example. Looking at the fact that there are these high-end cards for a guy who may be able to step up. He's a great driver. He's won at least one race. He may have won multiple races in his career. I know he was called up to Red Bull. That didn't work out, but now he's racing very well. For what is it? Is he AlphaTauri right now? Yeah, yep. AlphaTauri right now. And so, anyway, what I'm getting at is there a play somewhere in the stratosphere of a high-end Gasly card that doesn't cost as much as a high-end Lewis or Max card that actually, if Gasly does make a jump to I don't know, Mercedes or Ferrari or Red Bull or a better car at some point, like you said he wants to, buying a high-end Gasly card for say $3,500, because I don't think people, if you're watching right now on YouTube, or if you're listening right now on Spotify or Apple, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, they can see a couple cards I've pulled up on my screen that people want $8,000, $6,500 for. My guess is that these would actually sell for more like $3,500 or something like that. But could a Gasly card go from $3,500 to $15,000 or 10,000 if Gasly is able to actually move up to maybe like a Russell or a Leclerc status, or even a Lando Norris status someday? Is there a play with Gasly?
There's a play, but for that, there's gonna, I don't know. I'm just, hold on. There's a play, though. Two things are gonna have to happen. First, he's gonna have to land a seat, either go back to Red Bull, or I don't know, go to Mercedes or McLaren. That's A, gonna have to happen, and B, going to have to win a world championship, which I doubt is going to happen soon enough. I don't think there's a lot of great drivers in Formula One. There's a lot of great drivers that have been in Formula One and haven't won a world championship. We see it now with Charles Leclerc. Yes, he has 19 points over Max Verstappen, but everyone feels that Verstappen has the momentum and he has the will to win and to drive for a championship. So for him, for his value to go up to the Verstappen level and Lewis's level, or even Lando's level. So to get on Lando's level, you're gonna have to land a top seat, and then win a world championship. He won one race. This guy has the potential to win many other races, but for that, he's going to have to move out of AlphaTauri, and it's going to happen for me, in my opinion, next year or the other. So is there a play? Absolutely. Imagine the speculation when he lands a big seat. But once again, in the hobby, we never actually witnessed that kind of thing because everything was released in 2020, 2021. We knew that George Russell was going to be, we don't even have cards right now in the Chrome set that have George Russell in Mercedes. It's all tops now. So we'll see what the future holds. If you have the money, that's a play I would make. That's a play I would recommend, to actually buy a high-end card of Gasly or any of their drivers in the Dynasty set and then flip it once he lands this big seat.
Nice. I like that. And I also see, like, I know you're saying win a world championship, but it seems to me that even if he can win a race, it would spike his value. And for a guy like Russell, just not even on a Dynasty card, but just if you want to invest in Russell, it seems to me like when Russell wins a race, I'd be shocked if his value doesn't, if there's not at least a spike, like a blip, like a nice little blip that tosses his value up in, for like a week where you can sell it 20 to 40% higher than you would have been able to sell it prior to his win. But interesting what you say about Gasly. I really like that. So, all right, Greg, anything you want to add around these topics before we talk about the newest releases of 2021, which to your point are actually, from 2020, teams, but 2021 releases, we've already had Tops and Tops Chrome, but now we've got Sapphire, Chrome Sapphire Edition, and we've got 2021 Dynasty. But before we dive into that, anything else you want to add on the previous topics?
I'm all good. Let's move. I can't wait
cool.
to talk about these new releases.
Nice. Let's do it. So for me, I'd like to start with Dynasty just because I'm pretty fascinated by Topps Dynasty. I just feel like overall 2020 and this new release of 2021 are, I'll use the term undervalued yet again, just because if you compare some of the sales prices of Topps Chrome 2020 and Topps Chrome 2021 to any of either of the two Dynasty releases, to me, Dynasty feels like a set that is way higher end. It feels like a version of a Panini Flawless or National Treasures, where you've got on-card autos, You've got low serial numbers, so you've got out of 4s, out of 5s, out of 10s, and you've got some pretty sick patches. Like you've got zipper patches, you've got glove patches, you've got I think jacket, whatever they call the jacket patches that look pretty sweet. And I believe that, I could be getting this part really wrong, but I believe that some of these are race worn, if not all of them are race worn. So it's super high end. And I think the downside to Dynasty, I think there's a lot of upside with Dynasty. I think it's being overlooked as like a real investment. And I think that the downside with Dynasty is that when you buy it, you only get one card in a box, and you could get crushed because you could get like a Claire Williams from 2020, or you could get like another, here's Andreas Seidel from McLaren, or Franz Toast, or Mattia Binotto, right? So you could get totally crushed. You could pay like $3,500, and the card you could get could be like an $80 card. Or you could get a Verstappen or a Hamilton that could go for 15 to 30,000. So that's my take on Dynasty, is that like there are plays to be made there if you go after like a Russell or a Lando or a Gasly or somebody, even an Esteban Ocon, like somebody sneaky that you can get for a little bit cheaper, that's going to probably on a trajectory to win some races in the next few years. But yeah, that's my overall take. But in terms of the 2021 release, I know you really wanted to dig into that, so I'll let you have the floor here and let us know what you're thinking with Topps Dynasty.
I'm happy that you think that there's a good play to be made with with actually Dynasty 2021. I don't agree with you. I think that Topps mismanaged, and the whole industry and I read a lot about this in different forums with different pages and talked with a lot of people. I think we're in some kind of overhyped situation around Dynasty. People that have the budget that were able to buy some boxes. And first of all, why would you release the price that the release price is actually the same price right now that you could buy a 2020 Dynasty box. So at this price, I would rather, even though it's brand new, I would rather buy a 2020 box, and gamble it, because it's pure gamble, high risk, high reward. But when you look at the set list, look at that: Antonio Giovinazzi, Andrea Seidel, Christian Horner, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz, David Brivio, Ricardo, Ocon, Alonso, all of these, put out the set list.
Yeah, you're right. I mean,
I think 85 to 90% of these cards, you won't even make your money back, guaranteed.
Yeah, that's hard. That's hard to deal with, for sure.
I mean, if you hit a Lewis Hamilton, which, by the way, the one of one actually has been hit, it's been pulled. So if you hit a Lewis Hamilton, you're good. A Max Verstappen, Charles Leclerc, Lando and George, these are probably the only 5 you can actually make profit on. Some of them you can probably make your money back mid-long term. But aside of that, why would you include, all my respect to every engineer in the field, but why would you include them in such a high-end set? So for me, I was actually excited.
That's horrible.
I was keeping some budget aside just for that. I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy one box and actually open it and see what it's like. But never, ever will I do that.
Totally. No, I think this is actually a really good point to break down, because I could not agree with you more in terms of like buying a box. I think that buying a hobby box right now, especially of the 2021, when you can get the 2020 on the secondary market for the same price, is one reason why it doesn't make sense. Another reason why it doesn't make sense is because of what we both just said, which is like, there's no way that engineers should be included in a high-end product like this, unless there's like 3 cards. Panini has a set called Encased, and they do it for football and basketball, and they might do it for baseball too, unlicensed. But Panini Encased, you get like 3 or 5 cards. I can't remember. But you get one that's graded by Beckett, and it's always a gem mint, and that's going to be your big one. Sometimes you get a really bad player, but it's an on-card auto, and it still helps you piece together your money back for the box. And then you also get 2 or 3 other cards, and the 2 or 3 other cards in the set are like other players, nice patches. So I can understand if Dynasty had engineers to accompany a driver in every pack in some way, in every box in some way. But yeah, the fact that you could spend almost $4,000 on one card and have it be an engineer that no one cares about at all, with all due respect to engineers, like just no one cares about them, and you can sell that card for $80. That just, now on the other side of it though, where I think you can make plays is on the singles, right? So if you go and go onto eBay and try to buy like an Esteban Ocon triple relic auto out of 10 right now.
But again,
there's
look
2
at
days
these
left.
Patches. Look at these patches, man. the one that's for sale there. Would you buy that card?
So it depends on the price. I mean, Yeah, okay, I am sharing my
But
screen.
let's see
Sorry, you're right.
here.
So,
Okay, we're
so
talking
yeah,
as investors. We're talking as investors. But when you're an investor, you always have to think
yeah,
about will the collector will want to buy this card. I would totally buy the jumbo nameplate there of Esteban Ocon. That's
yeah.
amazing. The one
This one, yeah.
just below, Pierre Gasly one also. But the triple relic autograph on 10, look at these. It's, dude, it
It
looks
doesn't even
like,
really count as a triple relic, right? Because you're right, the patches do kind of suck. You basically got
oh
like a
my god.
black patch, a white patch, and another black patch. So like, what are those? I don't know.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I mean, maybe that's one reason why it's only $425 with 2 days left. And could that still be a good play if you believe Ocon is gonna win races or have podium finishes or have some kind of trajectory? And he certainly drives a good car and those kinds of things. So, but I think that's where the plays are, right? Like I think that buying a Sains if you feel like it's in your budget or if you feel like it's affordable, buying a Gasly or buying a, I don't know, a
But
Lando, right? Like if you believe
even
in that.
there, the Saints one, if you scroll down a little, this Saints card that's right there, asking price, it's $399. So just above the asking price of a box. So
Of a box, yeah, that's
uh,
true.
and this card looks amazing. It looks outstanding, and it's a card on 10. Carlos Saints. I think that's a play. If Carlos Saints can get his, I was going to say something not very nice, but can have a better season, I'm going to say it this way, than what he has been doing and start actually winning races, this is an interesting play for me. So you get, for the same cost of a box, you're not gambling your money. It's 4,000 best offer. So let's say I don't know, you get a few
Like I
hundred
think you
bucks
could get that
under.
for like 2,500. Like I think I mean I could be wrong because I don't know the seller, but based on my experience, I think you're looking at like $2,500 actual sale price for that card. And if
Let's
you
say
can
you're
get it
lucky
for
enough
that,
to
yeah,
get it for 25. Do it. Just get it, because once he
yeah.
starts winning races, and probably people are gonna like Carlos Sainz a little more. I mean, my wife, she loves Carlos Sainz from the Drive to Survive series. Uh, probably by the looks of
I'd
the
pay
driver.
$2,500. I'd pay $2,500 to get my wife to watch Drive to Survive with me, but that's a whole other story.
But anyway, I think that's a good play. The Gasly card also looks amazing, and I think all of
Yeah.
these cards are going to have a lot more value than they have right now, when these two drivers perform. So if you have the money, do it. So I mean, once again, Dynasty, the value there is to actually go on eBay or any online platform, Facebook groups or whatever, and actually get the cards that you think are good
Get the
investments,
card.
or from
Yeah.
drivers that you like. I don't think there's an upside to actually buy a box and try to open it.
Yeah, you nailed the takeaway. It's like if you can get the driver that you want for less than $3,500, then you're picking the box that you want essentially, because it is only one card per box. So that's a great like this Gasly. The more I look at it, and I think it's like one other note before we move on to Sapphire release. One other note on this is like look at how many bids and how many watchers there are also on these things, because I think that'll give you an indicator. Like, even though Greg and I don't like this triple patch relic, it does have 16 bids. So that's not, there, that means there might be like 40 some bids when it ends, which is a lot of like significant amount of bids, which means there's a market for it. So even though
Yes.
we might not like the patches, like, just pay attention to, like, this Gasly one also has 31 watchers. That's a lot of watchers. So, like if you want to make an offer on that card and try to get it for, I don't know, best practices for me, I always try to make an offer that's like a little bit above half the asking price. And then a lot of times you'll get kicked back that it's automatically not accepted, but sometimes it gets sent and then you're in a negotiation with the seller. And I think that, this this card right here is one that fits the profile that Greg and I are talking about. So you've got 31 total watchers. That's a lot of interest on a card. If you can end up being the one that buys this card for, say, $12.50, that's half the price of a box, and you're essentially picking your box. It's a pretty decent idea. So I like that.
I love this card. And I'm actually surprised that my man Aaron from Slab Stocks didn't get it yet. Did you see that? He completed the whole Sapphire rainbow, which is it's absolutely beautiful. It's magical.
That's cool. Shout out to Slab Stocks because they're like the only newsletter out of any email newsletter in the world that I actually like stop and go, all right, I got to open this right now and like click on all the links because they just do an amazing job of tracking the auctions that are current and live and relevant and every day. And so that's where, we end up doing a lot of our digging for the sports card investment report, thanks in part to the Slab Stocks newsletter. So I did not see that Aaron completed the rainbow, but that's really cool.
He did.
And,
Go on his Instagram,
good.
Slab Stocks Aaron, and he completed the rainbow, and all of that to say he completed it in a month. The whole Sapphire rainbow with the 1/1, and actually, which is the funniest of all, the last card he had to buy is the base one. he actually got all of the variations, all of the colors, and went like, oh shit, I'm missing the base. So so it's pretty funny.
That's like me when I get dinner and and there's like multiple foods on my plate for dinner. I always like eat the least favorite one first and save like the favorite one for last. And it's like, it's almost like he went the opposite direction. He went like, well, I guess that's kind of true. Like he went hardest to easiest. So it's that's cool. Sometimes I wonder though, I will say, like, this is no disrespect to Aaron, cause I don't know Aaron, and I'd love to connect with him and some of the other guys from Slab Stocks and see if we can hook up and help each other out. But like when somebody completes, here's just a quick sidebar before we talk about Sapphire. When somebody like completes a rainbow or like completes a set, cool, congratulations, awesome. But isn't that just like buying shit? Really? Like isn't that just like I know it's hard to get like a serial numbered or like some of these are really short printed and like it's hard to do it. But isn't it really just like how much money do you have to throw around at this particular thing? It's like buying an outfit. Like I just went out and bought an outfit. I mean, I think you're going to disagree with me. Like maybe that's everyone can roast me on this one, but I'm never like super impressed when people are like, oh, I got all of the jersey numbered whatever. Like when I hear Nat Turner on a podcast and he's talking about like precious metal gems and his collection and all that, I'm kind of like, it's not my thing. It's just not my thing. Because I just feel like you can just go buy it. Whereas like what's really hard to me is like anticipating like this Gasly talk that we just had. Like what's going to happen? Like how can I buy something that's lower now than what it's going to be? To me is like way harder than just going out and being like, I want to buy these 17 cards. I'm going to go do that with no, I don't know.
Well, F1's a collector market, and people like these variations. The cards are gorgeous, even though the quality control doesn't seem up there. Once again, with Topps Formula One. Sorry about that. I like Sapphire. I like the design of the cards. I saw some people have already received their boxes, opened them, and they look absolutely beautiful. Are they going to have value? I think there's some kind of confusion right now in the market. So see this card, this Lewis Hamilton portrait looks way better Sapphire than actual chrome. But I think it creates a little bit of confusion. That's what I'm seeing right now. There's a lot more F1 cards on the market, and when the dust settles, I think the 2020 chrome and Sapphire are going to have a lot more value. because people are gonna always come back to the first set that was released. Uh, but these cards now, I mean, if you can get a numbered, prize driver, go for it. The image variation in, for Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton are outstanding in the Sapphire version. I know they actually released also new colors this year, so there's great add-ons. There's also Piastri, which, by the way, I just read the news that Piastri, they will decide, Alpine will decide around the British Grand Prix if it's going to be Alonso or Piastri for 2023. So might be a good news for you. And also you can
Let's go Piastri.
and also you can get, these Theo cards in the Sapphire box. So I think this is a pretty interesting play there. The release has also been, it's been so high. People have tried, I know I saw in some different Facebook groups that people have tried to sell the boxes for 1,800 the next day it's been released. So they didn't have it in hand. They just were lucky enough to get it on the Topps website, and we're trying to flip it for double. So it's been pretty crazy. So again, great. Another play I would probably do is, buy and, keep it sealed. Just don't touch the box. But once again, it's releasing at a price where you can still get a 2021 hobby box. So it's pretty high. It's pretty high. And to me, as an investor, when I see that much of a hype around a box release, I just tend to sit and wait. And I'm probably wrong to do so, but that's just how I play things.
Yeah. I mean, I like it. I think that I think Formula One has been an anomaly, and that's maybe why you feel wrong, because Formula One has been an anomaly with the releases in 2020, skyrocketing, multiplying in price, and like never going down. And so, but I think in every other sport, that's exactly what happens. Like every other release, like there's hype around it. It goes crazy like that week, and then weeks later you can get it for 85% on the secondary market of what the original manufacturer charged on their website. And so I think that my understanding is kind of what you just said. Like, I don't know the details, but I also heard that this is higher than, it's like almost twice as much as they sold it for last year. And they didn't even sell it directly. They didn't guarantee the Montgomery Club members a box, if I'm getting that correct. So they changed up the release related to the Topps Montgomery Club members, where normally any Sapphire edition of any product of any sport, typically like the Montgomery Club members get sort of first right of refusal on that before they go for sale to the general public. But my understanding is that for this one, they just said, all right, we're selling it, and we're selling it at like, I don't know, 1.5 times or twice the price as what we did last year, which is kind of what you're talking about. It's like the same price as the hobby box of Topps Chrome for this year. But it is still achievable. Like it seems like you also said they're beautiful cards. It's a great set. You can still get a lot of the same guys that we're interested in. The F2 drivers, really all of them. The checklist appears to be the same. Only thing is there's no autographs, but there are, it says 4 parallels or short prints per hobby box, which is appealing, obviously. I personally don't like that there's no autographs. I'm personally an autograph. I don't care that there's sticker autos. Like, to me, I'm after autos. I have to really, really like the driver and believe in the driver, and the price has to be right for it to be non-autoed for me, even for F1. So that might just be me as an investor, but that's what I'm looking for. But I do actually really like the price point, even though it's higher than what it was last year. it's still achievable. So I think I think there's plays to be made. What I'll probably do though, rather than buy a box and hold it sealed, is look at singles prices for a few weeks at least before I buy anything. And
Yeah.
then after the singles prices sort of shake out,
Same.
and the hobby box prices shake out, then make a decision like, does it make more sense to buy a sealed hobby box, or does it make more sense to go after like the single that I want, of the driver that I want? Because it's all about the play. Like, and actually I want to ask, this is a good question to ask you, because it's a little bit selfish because it's going to apply to like all the sports that I'm investing in. Like in 2022 so far, I've bought probably equal amount of sealed hobby boxes as singles. And so I'm sitting on a lot of hobby boxes and I'm sitting on a lot of singles, and the singles are pretty easy for me to decide what to do with. Like I'm about to do this, and I might document it for Sports Card Strategy, for the YouTube channel. But I'm going to go through like every card that I have in the vault, and I'm going to put it into a spreadsheet, and I'm going to put like a sell date and with a reason why. But with sealed hobby boxes, like I don't know what that is. With singles, I kind of know what that is because I know like the play related to Oscar or Theo or whatever. But like with the F1 2021 Topps Chrome hobby box that I bought this year, I don't know what that is. So that might just need to be like, it's just going to sit there like for years. I don't know. But how do you kind of look at planning sealed wax, what to do with sealed wax versus what to do with
I'm just going to
singles?
look at the market. I'm actually thinking, when am I going to sell my 2021 hobby box, Topps Chrome hobby box? And even though the price is very high, I'm thinking right now with the there's a dip in crypto, there's a dip in stocks. So I was thinking even to buy back a 2020 box, which is about 4,000 US right now. And I think this box, like I said, I think this box is still going to be worth a lot more than that in a few months, in a few years. So, I mean, when the dust settles in 2-3 years, the 2020 set is not going to grow exponentially like it did so far, but it's still a safe. For me, it's a safe, very, very safe investment.
Yeah, you're right. That really is the answer, is like look at what look at what the prices are on a consistent basis versus what you bought it for. Now, like the last two sales of this exact product that I mentioned, are basically exactly what I paid for it, like 2 months ago or 3 months ago, whenever it came out. And these sales are yesterday, and they're exactly what I paid for it. So that could be a play to say like, all right, well, if the price of something else dips that I believe is a better investment, I can just get my money back and put it into something else. Or like monitor this until I do see a spike, or take it to a card show or whatever and try to move it. If it's not moving for the price that you want it to move for online, that kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's the answer, my man, for sure.
Yep.
Anything else, Greg, on your mind related to F1 at all, or either of these two releases that we haven't hit on?
I'm good so far.
Dude, we've covered a lot in about an hour. Everybody, thanks so much for watching and listening to Greg Lanctot and myself, Paul Hickey, the hosts of the F1 Card Strategy Show here on the NoOffSeason.com Sports Card Network. We encourage you to subscribe. Go to sportscardstrategy.com and you can get all the links to subscribe to our YouTube channel, subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, and join us on the Facebook group. Greg's a regular on the Facebook group. I try to do as much as I can to keep that going, and we're growing slowly. We've got about 200 members on the Facebook group now, so it's a smaller community for those of you that don't love the larger communities where you're kind of not heard because there's 87 comments on every single post. We'd love to have you. So find us sportscardstrategy.com, click the link to join the Facebook group, and support us in other ways. If you want to support even further, go to nooffseason.com. Check out the Sports Card Investment Report. If you like it and you want to upgrade, you want to save 20%, use the promo code NOOFFSEASON. And graphs and charts that I personally use are at marketmoversapp.com. So we'd love it if you check out marketmoversapp.com. And if you want to upgrade there, you can get the first month for only $1 if you use the promo code NOOFFSEASON. So again, everybody, thanks for watching and listening to the F1 Card Strategy Show. Greg Lanctot, Paul Hickey, everybody have a great day. We'll see you soon.